Call to order. Buhl City Council meeting Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. Mr. Jeffries, please take the roll.
Councilor Hadrava.
Here.
Councilor Keeley is absent. Councilor Loeffler.
Here.
Councilor Towner.
Here.
Mayor Carter.
Here.
We have a quorum and we may conduct business.
Thank you, sir. Everybody stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Mr. Jeffries, do we have any changes to the agenda as presented?
We do not, Mayor Carter.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Thank you. We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Well, there is an item you should take up at this point.
Before or after the agenda is approved?
Right now.
Right now? I would like to make recognition for the service of Mr. Jim Larson on council. He has passed away, and we'd like to take a moment of silence for Mr. Larson. Thank you. Thoughts are with the family. Thank you, Mr. Larson, for your service to our community.
Thank you.
Okay, any discussion on the agenda as presented? With no discussion, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Agenda is approved. Again, thoughts are with Mr. Larson's family. All right, moving on to report from department heads. Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you, Mayor Carter. I have just a few items this evening. First along, we will talk a little bit more about this during the meeting, but Bonnie Sterl of Sterl & Company Ltd., our independent auditors for the city, has completed her on-site 2023 municipal field audit work. There will be a presentation of the audit findings and a PowerPoint slideshow on the June 11th, 2024 City Council meeting. Secondly, we had a pre-construction meeting this morning for the remaining construction work going with the Damien Second Edition project. That will be the curb and gutter and the paving of the areas over by the new residential development, the areas of Jefferson Street up and including Memorial, the extension of Woodbridge Avenue to the east, and that we met and we toured the sites today, and looking at everything that has been prepared and has to be done, and what the city has in mind, which includes the summer celebration of June 22nd. The change order for completion date has been executed between the engineer and the prime contractor, and that substantial completion date will be Friday, June 20. So, or Thursday, it's a Thursday, June 20. So the parade and all should be taking place on new roads, and that should be taken care of. That's foremost in the contractor's minds at this point. We will deal with the change order probably next meeting. Next, the Iron Range Tourism Bureau, of which Buhl is a member, and the IRTB, that's what they're known as, they will visit us next meeting, the 21st of May, and give an overview of recent initiatives, activities of that organization. And the organization, again, just very briefly, it exists to promote the area, and it originally existed to try to promote heads in beds for overnight stays, but it's been expanded beyond that, and it's more just to keep the area from Hibbing to White Lakes on the radar of the traveling public. The funding for the organization comes from a lodging tax, as it's called, when you stay at a short-term rental or a hotel motel or a campground, you are to remit 3% to the IRTB. We, with the amount of work, with the amount of business at the campground, I don't believe Buhl's ever actually remitted any hard dollars, because it'd be like $5.20 or something sometimes. Anyway, that's where it comes from. So anyway, the IRTB has been reapproached to go back to an earlier type of product that they had. They used to do a lot of magazines, maps, brochures, and we've gone, we meaning the IRTB, I am on the board of directors of that organization. I'm the treasurer for what it's worth. We've gone pretty much digital, but we've gotten some requests, and we're intending to do some advertising from welcoming communities on an ATV map. And as ATV trails continue to get built out more and more, that's more and more of a tourism-oriented activity in our area. So the additional publication will be for 5,000 of maps, and if they run out, probably more. And the IRTB is asking their member communities, of which Buhl is one, for consideration of $100 for a 4-inch by 2-inch color ad welcoming folks that would appear on this map. That I'd like to also take up next council meeting for consideration. All right. Minnesota Power, you may or may not have noticed this, is in the process of replacing 17 power poles in the Highway 169 corridor. It's part of their internal periodic maintenance asset replacement program. So they're out there, they're doing this, they've started, they're probably gonna be here another couple of weeks or so, out near the Pennsylvania exit. This is internal, it doesn't include Buhl in any way, not financially, not scheduling, not equipment, not anything. So please be careful and mindful of the construction equipment that's gonna be out there for the next couple of weeks. MnPower's vehicles and equipment are white with a blue logo on the sides typically. Okay? Speaking of construction, the construction activities for the summer 169, Highway 169 work have begun. This is a MnDOT, Minnesota Department of Transportation managed project, and the project will summarily consist of bridge work, traffic signaling work, road overlay, and ADA improvements from Chisholm to Mountain Iron. And they'll be coming through Buhl here, and at some point, we will be getting that top edge of pavement scarified off, milled off, following new asphalt going down behind it. The project will be going on until middle September or so. What you see now when you head to Mountain Iron, Virginia, there's a couple of lane adjustments. They're doing the bridge work. The bridge work will probably continue till mid-July or so before they get into the paving or pavement alteration work. So again, we expect lane closures and detours throughout the summer. So please drive carefully on the 169 corridor, and come next year, different project, same story. There's going to be work, so prepare yourselves for detours, lane closures, and construction equipment on 169. And finally, today, just wanted to mention that regarding our initiatives to create or site a youth center at the former First National Bank of Buhl. Since the last meeting, when I reported a little bit on it, I have not heard anything further to date. But hopefully we'll have something next meeting. And that's all I have, Council.
Thank you, sir. So we have a completion date for the construction in town.
We do. And we did, again, we walked it today with all parties, contractors, city, engineer, and we have the game plan, if you will.
So June 20th.
June 20th.
Are we holding them to it this time?
I guess I would answer that by saying it's very important to see what weather does. And it's one thing if it's all good weather from now till then, and it's another thing entirely if it's not.
Excellent. I'm sure everybody in town will be happy to get all of that taken care of. It's been a long time. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Moving on to Citizens Forum. Does anybody wish to speak? Hello, Mel.
I put it up there, then I took it down, but Renee and I had done a little talking and, yeah, it's right in here, Renee, that the B2 Bank, as Mr. Jeffries just indicated, was preparing the lease for the First National Bank of Buhl for the youth center. So the dollar amount is $1 a year for your lease. And I had asked Renee before the meeting, and she was, evidently she didn't think that she didn't remember Tony saying that we were gonna get a lease from the B2 Bank coming soon, okay. My question to her was, how much money do you have? What kind of a spreadsheet do you have because money in Buhl is becoming, nobody wants to pay more. So my question was, how much money does she have left in her grants? Apparently there's 2 of them. And how much is the utilities going to be per month? Not that I care, as long as the city of Buhl is not paying for any of that. And how much money does she have, and how much money how long is it gonna last? Because there's no sense entering into something if you don't have at least a year or 2 years in order to fulfill that lease. I mean, granted, it's only $1, but you've got liability insurance, and then you've got to hire somebody, and if you do part-time people that are volunteers, that's wonderful. But they have to know that who's gonna clean it, who's going to do all of and she's working on it, so she kind of answered my questions, and that's about it, that's all I have.
Yeah, and I apologize too, because I honestly thought that he was saying, I guess I misunderstood, I thought that he was saying that they were talking about leasing it to us.
Yeah, we just haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah, so it wasn't that they're preparing or that it's
Well,
gonna...
according to this, it says they're gonna give us a lease for $1 a year.
Yeah, that's,
Well, that means we gotta get going and make sure that you've got all the ducks in a row, so to speak.
That is a for sure.
Who's signing the lease? Hello?
I don't know.
Oh,
Like, the last meeting was the first time I even heard anything about it. So,
Because it can't be anyone from the city.
I would assume that the lease would be signed by appropriate executives at B2 Bank and the mayor and/or the administrator,
yeah, but
usually they
that's
both
city
sign.
money, you
That's
can't.
city then that you're
yeah,
putting in there.
Yeah, you can't.
Excuse me? I didn't understand.
Well, in order for him to sign a lease, you have to get an okay from all 5 people.
Yeah.
And you have to know that we are not spending any money. And so far, there's nothing that says we're not spending money. When he signs a lease, that means for $1.
Right.
But you've still got, is that lease including water, light, heat, all of those things? Who's paying the bills here? Because if this thing
The city
fails,
signs
the city has signed an agreement that we will pay for the utilities for
And
1 year.
these are all discussions to be had still.
Right, but if I just said, who's gonna sign it?
And you said the mayor.
You said the mayor, so, okay. Well, all right, that's my question, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. All right. Anybody else sign up to speak?
No, Mayor Carter, no one else has been signed up.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to the consent agenda. The minutes from the regular city council meeting, April 16th, 2024. Claims payroll number 8 in the amount of $15,281.62. Payroll number 9 in the amount of $14,534.79. Payroll number 4 in the amount of $2,350. And accounts payable in the amount of $35,535.38. For a total of $67,701.79. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
A motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to business. Item A. Consider closing Fund 607 and transferring the assets and debt to Funds 601, 602, and 430, retroactive to December 31st, 2023. Sterl and Company Limited, the independent financial auditor for the City of Buhl, is concluding its annual review and audit of the city's financial performance for fiscal year 2023. As a part of the result of that work, Sterl and Company is requesting specific actions be taken regarding certain City of Buhl funds and fund balances. Specifically, this request is to close out Fund 607, Citywide Infrastructure Project, and transfer these assets and debt per existing debt agreement to Funds 601, 602, and 430. These actions are requested to be recorded retroactive to December 31st, 2023. Do we have a motion to close out Fund 607 Citywide Infrastructure Project and transfer the assets and debt per existing debt agreements to Funds 601, 602, and 430, retroactive to December 31st, 2023, per the direction of the city's independent financial auditor, Sterl and Company Limited?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Jeffries, anything to add to that?
I would just like to explain how this works, if you will. Fund 607 is for the infrastructure project. So per normal accounting practice, once a project is concluded, those project funds, the fund gets closed out. So the remaining assets and debt in that fund would move to 601, the water fund, 602, the sewer fund, and a newly created fund 430. The reason the newly created fund is it's a holding fund that will be there to allocate what goes to sewer and what goes to water. We will not know that until the audit is complete. And if there is any additional funds remaining after the amount of assets get transferred to water, 601, and to sewer, 602, then those would remain in the holding fund 430 until such time their ultimate disposition was known. So that's just kind of the mechanism of how it works.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion, council? Comments? All right. It's just a regular motion.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. With nothing further, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion is carried. Item B. Consider approving the remaining $35,000 loan receivable from BETA for the 2020 sale of the Martin Hughes High School to a private party as a contribution to BETA for 2023, retroactive to December 31st, 2023. In 2020, the city sold the former Martin Hughes School to a private party for the sum of $85,000. That purchase agreement, approved by the City Council, referenced that the city would need to satisfy a lien against the property in the amount of approximately $104,000. This lien was in the name of the Buhl Economic Development Authority. Although the city worked with various parties, namely the Department of Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation and the Costin Group, to attempt to have that lien forgiven, it was ultimately agreed that the city would remit $85,000 to the IRRR to satisfy this lien. Since BETA held the lien and the city received the purchase price, the city's auditor recommended, and the city approved, transferring $85,000 from the city general fund into the BETA checking account so that BETA could satisfy the lien. This action created a loan receivable from BETA to the city in the city's general fund, and a corresponding payable to the city in the BETA financial records. A municipality is allowed to contribute up to $50,000 per year to an EDA. So the city council at that time agreed that $50,000 of the existing $85,000 loan receivable would be considered as a 2021 contribution to BETA, effectively reducing the loan receivable from BETA balance to the city to $35,000. Do we have a motion to consider the remaining loan receivable of $35,000 from BETA to the city as a 2023 contribution from the city to BETA and close out the existing loan receivable?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Alright, Mr. Jeffries, anything to add?
As was pointed out, EDAs can receive up to $50,000 in support annually from their respective municipality that they're located in. That's a common mechanism that occurs at different cities, that the city supports the EDA activities.
That's an interesting statistic to know.
So Buhl does not, recently anyway, support the EDA through financial transfers of money. But when the school issue came up, as was pointed out, $50,000 in 1 year was, let's call it, written off as a donation to EDA, right? This would be similar should the council choose to do so. If you choose to consider this $35,000 as a 2023 contribution, then this matter will be closed out. The loan receivable will be exhausted. The payable in BETA will go away and consider to be satisfied. And the lien doesn't come into play anymore because the lien was satisfied back in 2020. If you do not act to take this action, then it will remain as it is. There will be $35,000 as a loan receivable from BETA that the city would be expecting to receive from BETA.
Excuse me. How come it wasn't done in 2022?
Oh, no.
Second, where do these funds come from?
City's general funds. It's a, state law allows $50,000 to go to support an economic development authority to their corresponding municipality. Typically just taken straight from the general fund.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anything further, council? With nothing more, those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to item C, consider approval and authorization to apply for a Blandin Foundation grant to assist with updating the City of Buhl Comprehensive Plan. Very good topic. The city has previously considered an update to the city's comprehensive plan. The most recent update to the municipal comprehensive plan was in 2015. Proposed budgetary cost for these initiatives is at least $15,000, but likely higher. The city continues to attempt to identify and locate funding assistance for this initiative, as this initiative is currently not budgeted for 2024. The city submitted a letter of interest to the Blandon Foundation to be considered for a small communities and rural placemaking grant, and received a favorable response inviting the city to submit a full application. The full application is due by May 10th and includes creating or updating a community's comprehensive plan as an eligible project. Excellent. Do we have a motion to authorize the administrator, Mr. Jeffries, to submit a full application for a Blandon Foundation Small Communities and Rural Placemaking Grant to update the community's comprehensive plan and to accept and expend said funds for these eligible and specific purposes if awarded?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Jeffries, anything to add?
I recommend that you move forward with allowing this. Friday's the deadline, gotta get really cranking on it. And the response received to date from Blandon has been, your project's exciting. We invite you to do a full application and look forward to getting it from you. If that happens, then we gladly will move toward updating the comprehensive plan. It's time. The reason is because of some of our planning. Things are changing, right? The current comprehensive plan does not focus on recreation as much as I believe it should, as we've talked that it maybe should. It doesn't reflect potential residential expansion to the east of town. It doesn't reflect potential new road thoroughfares on the east of town anywhere. It does not reflect a shift in thinking more toward business and commercial development versus high-scale industrial development. All of those it does not reflect any consideration of possible workforce housing initiatives. So all of those are just, from the top of my head, reasons why it's a good time to revisit and update that plan.
Absolutely. Costs to update our comprehensive plan, minimum 15,000. That's the numbers we have. If approved, what kind of funding are we?
My anticipation was to ask for 20.
20? Okay, perfect.
What would be
Excellent.
our timeline for spending that?
Spending,
Right. Do they give us until next year? Or
at least, at least.
Yeah.
I can't say specifically because without having it, it didn't seem like I really needed to know how quickly we had to spend what we don't have. Right. But they'll let us know by July 1, I understand, is when they would announce awards.
Excellent. All right, anything further? With nothing more, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. All right, item D, consider establishing vehicle parking leases on city-held land east of Martin Hughes High School for commercial vehicles. Existing ordinance 72.02 restricts the parking of commercially licensed vehicles in excess of 1/2 ton and combination vehicles, truck and trailer, on city streets and other certain municipally owned or other public properties. So again, city ordinance 72.02 restricts the parking of commercially licensed vehicles in excess of 1/2 ton and combination vehicles, truck and trailer, on city streets. The city has received several inquiries as to where these types of vehicles may be parked in conformance with existing ordinances, with no clear solution for this ongoing situation available to owners and operators of these vehicles. Staff has identified a currently available yet unused or underused area in the area east of the former Martin Hughes High School as a potential site to establish an acceptable and approved parking area for these type of vehicles. This unpaved but flat area could be configured to allow leasing of areas of land sufficient for the parking of commercial vehicles to individual parties. Staff suggests the city consider issuing leases through BETA on a month-to-month basis to accommodate the parking of commercial vehicles in the area for a lease rate of $75 per month. Alright, first, do we have a motion to approve establishing a commercial vehicle parking area in the area immediately to the east of the former Martin Hughes School, and to offer and construct land leases on a month-to-month basis with interested parties to accommodate commercial vehicle parking?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, sir. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Alright, thank you. Now, discussion. So currently, our ordinances state no commercial vehicles in excess of a half-ton pickup can be parked on city streets other than certain areas where the city owns or other public properties.
Currently, public property is not authorized for parking of those
okay.
vehicles. And I guess I should mention that, I guess we're talking more of overnight, okay?
Okay. I do know we have some drivers in town who operate trucks, and this has been a thing for a long time where do I park my truck when I come home?
Right.
We should be accommodating. They're members of the community. Not saying, in my mind, I don't think that's a permanent solution, but it's a short-term one.
It's a good start. How many areas do we got right now? How much?
None.
I mean, no many as far as like the leased property we're looking at. It's 75.
just-
How many spaces? Yeah, spaces.
Is there gonna be, is there gonna be spaces, or is it just like open to?
If you wanted to map it out, I would guess you could probably get 35, 40 spaces in there at least. So as far as,
Truck and trailer combination?
yeah,
Think so?
yeah.
Well, I don't think we have that in our community,
No,
but
and
the
all that
4 or
means-
5 who do drive,
I'm not sure we would need to put boundaries on anything.
no,
No.
no, just an area for your commercial vehicle. And it would help get them off the street.
Right.
That way we don't have to try and enforce ordinance that states, hey, you can't park that here. And then that creates
Give them
a,
an option.
yeah, definitely. Is this something we can, if approved, we can pass along to law enforcement?
Absolutely,
They can encourage the idea or
Yes.
pass it along to members of the community?
yes.
Okay.
And there'll be probably a sign up on that little road leading in saying parking available for whatever rate for.
My first reaction would be the sign should say maybe parking by permit only.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the permit comes through the lease.
Yeah.
And just have a little tag or something they can put in their truck somewhere.
Yep. Yeah, and then everybody won't be using it for their personal parking lot.
Right. Yeah, as long as there's signage there.
Unless they pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless they pay for it.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be a good way to, it's an open area we're not using for anything at this time.
Right.
And it'll be a good, it'll help members of the community and it'll get the trucks off the streets, you know, have somewhere to park. And it's safe too, versus having something similar at the industrial park, until surveillance gets updated out there and such. I don't think it'd be a favorable place for people to leave their trucks.
And if I may say, at the industrial park at Whiteside, that is, I don't think the existing configuration lends itself well to an area dedicated
No,
for that.
no. Agreed. Yep. Great idea. Okay, anything further? No? Alright, with nothing else, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, everybody. Item E, Resolution 24-18 for the city to accept donations from several parties to the Buhl Public Library. The city has received 2 offers of donations related to the operations of the Buhl Public Library. The Arrowhead Library System has offered a donation of $1,113 to the city as a financial contribution towards the library's bestseller plan and crossover reimbursement needs for 2024. Miscellaneous cash donations of $16.50 to the city were received as financial contributions toward the 2024 library operations. Do we have a motion to authorize the city to accept donations from the Arrowhead Library System in the amount of $1,113 and a miscellaneous cash donation in the amount of $16.50 for the 2024 Buhl Public Library Program initiatives to execute Resolution 24-18 concerning the same, and to acknowledge these donations with appreciation?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do you have a
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you. Thank you to the Arrowhead Library System. All right, council have anything? No? All right. With nothing more, being this is a resolution, Mr. Jeffries, please take the roll.
Counselor Hadrava,
Yes.
Counselor Keeley is absent, Counselor Loeffler,
Yes.
Counselor Towner,
Yes.
Mayor Carter.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0 and so prevails.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to item F, consider formal creation of internal audit committee. At the February 15th City Council working session, the question was raised regarding whether there should be an internal audit committee to review all bills, invoices, checks at times other than at City Council meeting. Other sets of eyes on these matters reflects good business
Acumen.
acumen. We're gonna have to discuss that word later. Thank you. Existing city policy recognizes that the municipality is too small to realize a clear segregation of duties amongst city administrative staff. And the policy allows for city council members to meet with staff periodically to review bank activity and any other relevant accounting activities, and compile summary briefs on these findings. Although there does not appear to be a clear need for an additional formal audit review, this oversight is welcome as it provides additional sets of eyes on all disbursements originating on procured items and city spending. Staff supports and is firm that checks and balances are welcome and encouraged to provide residents and the public with greater transparency in all business affairs. Do we have a motion to formally create an internal audit committee comprised of members of the city council to periodically review all business and financial activities of the city, and to direct staff to create the scope of duties of this committee?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, discussion. Mr. Jeffries, anything to add?
Specifics of how this would work can be handled later if this passes.
Okay. Council. In the past, has the city had this
I was gonna say, has this ever
established?
been a thing before?
My understanding, council and mayor, is that at some point in the past, there had been an unofficial committee of council members that did come and review checks before they hit the claims list and before they got signed. We have recently reestablished a similar type of involvement with you all, with this present council, which is occurring now, as we speak.
Yeah,
I
a not
do not-
formally recognized
I do not believe it's
process.
ever been formally recognized.
I like the idea. Diana's always been really good about answering questions when I come in.
Mhm.
Yeah, but,
Look everything over, so,
Is it,
I mean, it,
are we overcomplicating?
yeah, isn't this the definition of bureaucracy?
I mean, oh, the bills go through Diana, her title is the financial
Finance manager.
sorry, a little slow today. And then they go through Mr. Jeffries, and then ultimately they're signed by the mayor. And council is at will and has been involved in reviewing all of that.
So how many people would be on this audit committee hypothetically? Who would it be compiled of? I mean, it's already people on the council?
I would say that one idea is it should be a minimum of 2 people. Another idea could be everybody on the council and you split up the duties and do it once every.
Well, due to privacy, it would have to only be council and staff, right?
That would be appropriate.
Just because of data privacy.
Ultimately, you as the elected body are the ones that are approving the expenditure of city funds.
And that's what we do anyways.
That's what we do anyways.
Can I ask for this, I mean, it says like at the working session, I wasn't there, like how this was brought about.
Primarily, there was some public input, but primarily Councilor Keeley had originated the conversation to talk about what are we doing now, what had been done in the past, and what maybe should be done in the future.
So would it be like they would be looking at it and then it would still come back to the council?
It has to, yes.
Right, so it would just be another set of eyes. just
That's
coming
correct.
through. Okay.
It would be the same set of eyes.
But they'd be going through more thoroughly.
Another time.
Yeah.
That's also correct. I guess if you wanted to look at it that way, let's,
So then you'd have.
Because
we'd have to be
if they-
scheduled for,
If this committee can only be comprised of, because of data privacy, can only be comprised of staff and council or mayor, we're just putting the same set of eyes on it again.
well, it should not be staff. Staff already does that.
Yep.
Man, so the way I look at it is naming 1 or 2 or whatever of us that are responsible to do it. Like say a normal week, if it's just, all of us are welcome to do it, but you're busy this week, you're busy this week, and each one of us thinks to themselves like, well, there's 4 other sets of eyes going and approving it. I just don't have time this week. At least this way there's somebody that's dedicated to it where, well, I don't really have a choice unless I, maybe in the scope of the duties, if I ask you to step in for me this week, if I'm just too busy or something, we know at least 2 people are looking in depth and not just, well, it looks good, and passing it on. You know what I mean? Kind of guaranteeing none of us, or all of us,
Overseas.
skip
Yeah.
over it, just thinking, I just can't this week.
Would it be a weekly thing? Is that?
I would suggest that it would coincide with city council meetings, meaning it would be twice a month at least for 10 months of the year, and once a month for the 2 months in the summer where we have 1 meeting. Because we cannot, it needs council action to approve the payment of the bills, so nothing happens between meetings officially anyway.
Yeah, right now, with the way it seems that they're prepared, it's gotten ready prior to the council meeting, so, it'd be coming in every other day when maybe we got this invoice this day, this invoice this day, where if we time it with the council meetings, it's already together and prepared, where we can go through it all at once.
so how long would that meeting take?
Well, it's not necessarily a meeting, like,
Or
when
whatever.
I've come in to do it,
But I mean, it would be,
it varies, like this morning when I was in here, because I couldn't come yesterday, was I here an hour?
I don't think it was quite that long.
Yeah, and I guess it'll depend on what comes up and how many there are. I'm sure there's busier months than others.
Does this include payroll?
It would include payroll.
I'm not opposed by any means to oversight of all of it. That's great, wonderful, but do we have to create a formal,
right.
you know what I mean?
You already said you're already doing it.
Well, right,
Do we
but
gotta make a rule for
like
it
I
too?
said, if you actually name people responsible for it and say we rename somebody at the beginning of each year, like this used to be a practice apparently, but it, somewhere along the lines,
Fell off?
right, and if there's a formal committee, it's less likely that we'll forget about it from year to year.
Agreed.
I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, if people have the time.
Well, I just don't wanna start putting things into place that are over exaggerating things.
Redundant.
Yeah, where it's, now we're putting a bunch of things into place where now we're just running in circles because we did it too many times, you know? So this, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if it doesn't work out, or if like it's getting too hard, or we don't think it needs to be, we can always revisit it.
Agreed.
It's hard to don't ring a bell there, it is just to ring it.
So work out details later.
We can work out details later, and let me also remind you all that this is not necessarily a extremely time-sensitive item.
Right.
And if you would wish to table until Counselor Keeley
I
may
was
be able
just
to.
gonna say that. It'd be nice to have her input on this. 'cause
Yeah.
She's in the know. I mean, more.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but discussion of this came, she
Yep.
kind of wanted to bring that to the table.
Yes.
I see.
I guess then it's council's
That would be
will.
Yeah, in agreement to that.
Table it till Denise is
Table
here.
it till Denise is here.
So all we should do is protect them.
Cause I mean, we can always develop the duties and scope of duties or whatever.
Well, yeah, and the between now and then, can we, council put some thought into how many people? You know, we established this the first of the year, same as every other committee, right?
Right, but by approving this today, we would just put all that into motion. And then council would have time to think about what we think the details.
The
are.
details of it,
When we
yeah.
meet later with Councilor Keeley present. Cause I mean, I don't need to speak for her, but I think she's in favor of
Yeah.
this, so
I think so too.
at least getting.
Before, I would say before, we decide the details of it, her input should be here.
Right.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. If it's council's will to approve this right now, then we will, and work on details from here out.
Yeah, I think approving this, at least we get it rolling.
So I think the way the mechanism works here is the motion is to approve. So an aye vote is for that. A nay vote would be to not approve it. No vote could be construed, or you can independently say you wish to table. And then that would go back to the originator of the motion to determine whether the originator would be interested in placing it aside until another meeting. Namely, they would technically rescind the motion to approve.
All right, council, before we go to vote, are we gonna vote on this right now, or would those who motion like to table it? Rather not take it to vote if we wanna table it.
I'd rather table it myself until Denise is here.
And for the record, motion Towner, support Loeffler.
Yeah, we can table it. I mean, assuming she's here at the next meeting, go another 2 weeks.
Okay.
Either way, I mean, I think it's a good thing, but
Well, yeah, and
it's
it's
not
not something,
time sensitive.
no, it's
Right.
not like we have to take action on it immediately because
yeah,
we're in a
so I'm
hurry.
okay with that.
So, who motioned? And you,
Randy.
and you supported?
Supported.
Okay, would you like to motion to table this till the next meeting?
Yeah, we can table it.
Okay, and you'd like to support that?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, so there's no vote on that. You rescind the motion to approve, and you agree in your support.
Yes.
we don't have to carry that to vote?
We will place this on next meeting's agenda.
Okay. All right, thank you, everybody. Moving on to item G, approve hiring of 2024 summer street laborers. The city has previously publicly posted and published advertisements for 2024 City of Buhl summer street laborers. Posting and eligibility for these positions will remain open until May 17th, 2024. 2 applications have been received to date for summer street laborers. Both of these applicants have fulfilled pre-employment paperwork requirements. Both of these applicants have previously been employed by the city as summer street laborers in the past. Excellent. We have a motion to approve the hiring of Aiden Capo, is that correct? And Nathaniel Peterson as 2024 summer street laborers, contingent upon the successful completion of all employment and pre-employment requirements.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Excellent. How many positions are we looking to fill?
Optimally,
Is
I
it 4?
believe it's 4.
Okay. As of now, we have 2. Excellent. Thank you, Aiden and Nathaniel. That's awesome. All right, council, anything further?
I like to see young kids out there working.
Heck yeah.
I see
It's a good job too.
I see some recognized names for references, so we know they're good.
Awesome. All right, anything further? With nothing more, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you to Aiden and Nathaniel. To be that age again, hey?
Right?
That would be awesome.
Summer jobs are the
Yeah.
best ones than as a kid.
All right, moving on. Item H. Approve hiring of 2024 summer beach attendants. The city has previously publicly posted and published advertisements for 2024 City of Buhl Public Beach at Stubler Pit attendance. Posting and eligibility for these positions will remain open until sufficient personnel are sourced to cover the needs of the city. Two applications have been received to date for summer help without specifying consideration for beach attendant or any other identified positions. For example, summer street laborer. Both these applicants have fulfilled pre-employment paperwork requirements. One applicant has previously been employed by the city as summer help. The other applicant is a first-time applicant. All right, motion to approve the hiring of Caitlin Peterson and Louis Benkuski, is that correct?
Yes?
Excellent, as 2024 beach attendants, contingent upon determining the applicant's interest and the successful completion of all employment and pre-employment requirements.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Excellent.
This is the good stuff.
Yeah, I miss those days. Thank you, Caitlin and Louis. That's excellent. Sounds like there's a little question of what position was applied for?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct, Mayor Carter. There's a chance that when these individuals are questioned, they may in fact be more desiring of summer street laborer
Okay.
and beach attendant.
Excellent.
Not having that specified at this point, I pointed them toward beach attendant.
Now, if they do want to go for street labor, do they have to come back for approval,
I
or
think that would be appropriate.
would we be better off approving them for what you ultimately come to a conclusion with that?
I don't believe anybody other than the applicant should make that determination, and their applications just say summer help.
Well, we'll iron out those details
Yeah.
and take it from there.
If they're willing to do both, qualified.
Yeah.
Let them find their spot.
I'll remind council that last year, it was easier filling the need for summer street labor than it was for beach attendant.
Well, thank you to Caitlin and Louis. That's excellent. Council have anything further? With nothing more, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion is carried. Thank you, Caitlin and Louis. Moving on to item I. Update on municipal sanitary wastewater inflow and infiltration investigation plans. Mr. Jeffries, would you like to take this?
Thank you, Mayor Carter. The city has been diligently working with the Central Iron Range Sanitary Sewer District, or CIRSSD, the city's wastewater treatment facility operator, to address impacts that the city of Buhl has or may have on that facility. Earlier in 2024, Norm Miranda, the executive director of the CIRSSD, addressed the city council and presented pertinent information regarding these impacts. And he focused toward inflow and infiltration, commonly called I&I impacts, that CIRSSD has been noticing from Buhl's participation in their facility, both pre and post the infrastructure improvement project. These items are extremely important and believed to be worthy of further study. So the city staff and what we've talked about so far, we intend to continue and expand the investigative program into I&I impacts throughout this year. And that would include, not everything for sure, but these are the items we have discussed. One, conducting smoke testing of sanitary and storm sewers in the city to evaluate the overall condition of these wastewater collection systems. Secondly, conduct flow testing of sewer sheds in the city to attempt to determine the impact of precipitation events, rainfall, on the overall flow rate of storm sewerage in the Buhl wastewater collection system. Third, consider televising all wastewater collection piping to establish a current baseline of the condition of collection piping and other collection structures, such as manholes, catch basins, etc., throughout the city. Four, continue to evaluate and analyze available historical city information regarding its participation in and impacts on the CIRSSD facility. And number five, to continue to seek funding opportunities to support and assist completing these initiatives. Let me explain briefly each of those 5 bullets. Smoke testing will show where there are gaps in piping. Smoke will escape the pipe and be visible to show spots that would be warranted of further investigation. Flow testing of sewer sheds would be based on the findings of smoke testing. A sewer shed is like a collection point of water to a kind of a central area. I would suggest the city has 5 or 6 sewer sheds that lay out in a logical fashion where you could isolate a sewer shed to look at the flow impacts. Again, that's not necessarily considering it all gets flow tested, but the smoke testing results will help point in that direction. Thirdly, the televising. I know that a good portion of the city was televised some years ago. That was pre-infrastructure project. We have a number of available televised files that are not at the same point in time. So the consideration here is to get a baseline. Okay, we know that 80% of the city's got new pipe, some of it doesn't, blah, blah, blah. But if we did the entire city, we'd all have the same date stamp on it to know how things are going into the future. That would be the most expensive of these elements. It is also an eligible cost under some of these funding opportunities that we have either already received or are hoping to receive. Fourth, the historical city information that I refer to here is that the city has a contract with the wastewater treatment facility that we pay on an annual basis. It gets adjusted annually depending upon the impact that the city has on it. Part of that has to do with how much flow we deliver to it. I believe the bigger element here is we also contribute to a replacement reserve fund for the sewer district, and that fund is based on actual gallons measured going through the facility. If we are delivering volume of water that does not need to be treated by that facility, we are paying for that water toward the replacement reserve. And it seems that it would be a good exercise to try to minimize any of that extra water that now is considered sewerage. And then in that way, minimize our impact at paying for the replacement reserves. We are in no way whatsoever are we questioning the value of the replacement reserves. We're only saying we should not be delivering excess amounts if we can help it that do not need to be treated, okay? And again, number 5 is self-explanatory. I will continue to look at any available types of funding I might be able to go after. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work towards this.
I should mention one more thing. The smoke testing is tentatively set for late June. And when it happens, it would probably be only a 2 or 3 day activity. And we'd like to let everybody in town know when it happens, so everybody's eyes can be on this too. If somebody sees smoke coming out anywhere, we'd love to know about it. When it happened, where it is, the more eyes, the better. That's how we can have a more conclusive evaluation.
was
So we'll continue later.
The date on that?
Well, we had it, it's gonna be late June hopefully. We had a date in mid-June that will not work out, so we're working out, trying to settle in on a date in late June,
Okay.
okay? And, with regard to the flow study, there are flow meters which are available for loan to the city. Those instruments will need some work. They will need some service work, they will need to be calibrated. I would expect that the costs of that would be borne by the city. And again, those would be eligible costs under some either existing funding we've recently received or additional funding we may receive in the future.
The district's flow meters?
That is correct.
Okay. Excellent. Well, it's pretty obvious after speaking with Norm and his presentation and data that staff has compiled, when it rains, it goes into the sanitary system and not just small amounts. Average 80-ish thousand a day
Big spikes.
usage for a normal day. And when it rains, we see peaks of up 400,
Yeah.
near 500,000 gallons.
Yeah.
And the difference between that peak amount and what we normally use
Yeah, you can.
is costing us money.
Right.
And my mayor and council, if I may, and for the public too, we may not come up with conclusive information. There is a chance that even going through this exercise, we may find that we just can't put our fingers on some of these things immediately. Some of this may not be a short-term solution. It may take some time. We won't know until we go through the studies.
Agreed. The drain tile issue is a long-term thing we need to address, but as we saw this winter, rain in December, like that helps eliminate drain tile out of the equation somewhat. May not be 100%, but somewhat. So I'm pretty confident that we can find something.
You gotta look.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Anything further, council? All right, moving on. Update on 2023 municipal financial audit. Mr. Jeffries, would you like to take this as well?
Thank you, Mayor Carter. I will. I'll be very brief because I mentioned this in my comments earlier in the meeting. But in a nutshell, Sterling Company is the city's auditor. They've completed their on-site work. The period of time being looked at is fiscal year 2023, which ends on December 31st, 2023. The remaining initiatives for this audit will be done in Sterling Company's offices, and they're expected to be done by the middle of June this year. So when complete, Bonnie Sterl will present these findings of the audit period and answer any questions that may arise. So we have scheduled her to appear here on June 11th, if she's in a position to present. June 11th, the June City Council meeting will be for the Sterling Company's presentation to the council on the 2023 financial performance of the city and the findings in their independent auditor's report, financial statements, and supplemental information for fiscal year '23. As of today, I do not believe there are any extensions in that. I think, as I know today, we'll be prepared to present on June 11th.
Excellent. And as always, Bonnie's wonderful to deal with. Wonderful lady. All right, thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Council have anything further on that agenda item? All right, moving on. Notice of St. Louis County Household Hazardous Waste Collection 2024. Big deal because we have the finest water in America. Keep that stuff off the ground. St. Louis County has released their 2024 Household Hazardous Waste Community Collection Schedule. This schedule will be posted in City Hall for public consumption. The Hibbing Transfer Station and the Virginia Regional Landfill accepts hazardous waste from county residents Tuesdays in Virginia only, and or Saturdays Virginia and Hibbing from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. throughout the year. Collection events at 13 other county solid waste sites are scheduled between May and September. Business hazardous waste collections for very small quantity generator VSQG businesses are scheduled in Hibbing on July 11th and Virginia on August 14th. St. Louis County Environmental Services Department flyer on these collections is attached for reference. Is this something we can have on the website too?
Yes, I neglected, yes, we will have it on the website.
Okay.
And I would like to make a couple of comments, if I may.
The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. First off, with all apologies, please make sure you distinguish between household hazardous waste and anything else, like hazardous waste. Any waste deemed hazardous or considered hazardous that comes out of business activities is not household hazardous waste. And needs to be managed in accordance with all the environmental regs as business waste. That is what the VSQG business collections are referring to. Now, what does it take to be a very small quantity generator? Call the county. Their program, based on state law, the city should not have to advise generators, but the category you fit in is based on the volume of hazardous waste that you produce a year. Okay, so call the county and they'll let that part be known. Very clear, business waste is not eligible to be managed through the household hazardous waste collection programs. And then the other item was, yes, we will have this on the website.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Let's protect our water and get all that stuff to where it belongs. All right, council, anything further? No? All right. Page 3. Item L, debriefing on an outcome of Local Board of Appeals and Equalization meeting of April 23rd, 2024. Mr. Jeffries, would you like to summarize?
I will summarize this, and I do this both for the council and for the general public. So Buhl's Local Board of Appeal and Equalization, otherwise LBAE, held an open book session jointly with the St. Louis County Assessor's Office on April 23rd at 10 a.m. in the Senior Center. Property owners were invited to discuss or appeal their valuations and or classifications of owned lands and or buildings at this session. The St. Louis County Assessor's Office indicated that in 2023 there were 11 11 arm's length sales transactions conveying property from one owner to another in Buhl, which created the basis of this analysis. Mr. Mayor.
What was the number they disregarded? Do you recall? They disregarded an amount because they may have been flip homes, et cetera, et cetera. They weren't a good example of the real estate market.
I do not recall, I want to say it was more than 11.
It was,
I thought it was
like
14.
it was a
I
significant,
remember it was like
5 total.
22 all or something like that.
yeah, it was a
What was it?
significant number
That thing.
that was disregarded because they weren't good examples of the market. Sorry,
Okay,
sir, I
so-
just wanted to touch
Yeah.
on that.
Thank you for that. And after that, they explain that by state law, there's a thing called the median ratio. The median ratio is the estimated market value divided by sales price. And for any taxing jurisdiction in the state, this median sales ratio must be between 90 to 105%. In Buhl's case, our median ratio was below that prescribed acceptable window. As a result, the county assessor applied a 6% upward adjustment of all lands and buildings in town citywide. That brought the median ratio to 95.1% for 2024. So about 1/3 up the acceptable window of median ratio. 4 individuals appeared at the meeting in person at the LBAE, and 1 individual had previously requested by writing an in-person valuation visit by the county assessor. All of those were on the table for consideration of changes for valuation or classification. Of those 5 appeals, it was ultimately recommended by the county assessor that 4 of them received no change in valuation or classification. And 1 appeal was recommended for a reduction in its valuation due to new information being received by the assessor's office. Specifically in that case, it was that they had this property with a concrete block foundation, and it actually had a treated wood foundation. They considered the treated wood foundation a different valuation than concrete. So that particular instance, the assessor recommended a reduction in the valuation. So the 4 no change and 1 reduction was placed before the LBAE, and all recommendations from the county were accepted and acted on by the LBAE. And attached to this item is what we call the record of appeals from that meeting that indicates those 5 individuals and or properties, and whether there was any change recommended or implemented or not. That concludes the business of the LBAE for 2024.
Excellent, thank you, sir. Well, it kind of seems like the real estate market is relaxing on its upward climb, so hopefully when we all talk about this stuff next year, it will be in our favors. Last year was a tough one. All right, anything further, council? Moving on, thank you. Item M, a reminder of the 2024 election candidacy filing period. As a reminder, 2024 is an election year, including the national presidential election. In Buhl, 2 city council seats and 1 mayoral seat are up for election and will be on the ballot. The municipal general election shall be held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. The primary election will be held Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. There will be a local municipal primary election conducted at that same time. In order to be considered for candidacy of any office, individuals must file with the city during a prescribed filing period. The filing period for candidacy for Buhl municipal office, both councilor and mayor, will open on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. will remain open for a 2-week period and will close at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. So again, from Tuesday, May 25th to Tuesday, June 4th. Please note.
May 21st, Mayor, sorry. You said May 25th.
May 21st, apologies. Tuesday, May 21st to June 4th. Please note that this is the only period available for candidate filing. Filing for election must be done through city staff at City Hall. Anyone interested in filing for municipal office will need to obtain an affidavit of candidacy from City Hall during regular city business hours, which are Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Friday, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. Complete this and file this with the city clerk prior to the expiration of the filing period. Any questions should be directed to city staff during normal business hours. Also, on top of that, there is a fee of $2, I believe.
Few dollars.
Just so everybody's aware, if you're interested, it's just a little piece of paperwork and a filing fee, and you're on the ballot. And I encourage everybody to do it. Everybody should be involved at some point, just like jury duty. Serve your community. And you get to learn a lot of great things too. How government functions, etc., etc., etc. Again, we have two city council seats, and the mayor's seat is up this election, so it should be exciting. Council, anything further? No? All right, moving on. Other business. I have something, if I may.
Mr. Mayor, please.
Just a quick topic of discussion, our emergency siren. Do you have any information on the status of that? May not be the place for conversation, but it popped in my head and I don't want to lose it, so.
Speaking off the cuff, I did last fall do a fair amount of research, if you will. I believe I located who in fact manages the siren for us. Have noticed that I haven't heard it go off myself.
Oh, I don't think anybody has heard it.
So with that being said, it is a good time to revisit that whole matter. I
Absolutely.
was led to believe, if I recall correctly, that utilization of the siren for, well, typically, initially they were civil defense sirens. None of that really applies anymore, right? And it was for tornadoes and other severe weather. My understanding is that a good portion of that has been replaced by alerts on your phone, Amber Alert type notifications. However, last fall I was under the impression that we're gonna get a first Wednesday of the month test on our emergency siren. Again, haven't heard it. I will double back now and see where that all lies.
In your free time.
Yes. And yeah, I do know who manages it, but I won't say, because there's no contract or anything.
Well, if they're not gonna be managing it, maybe we can get the button here and we can manage it.
It's a good point.
And like you said, the cell phone thing is there. There are still people who don't live by them.
Right.
So
If you're out mowing your lawn or something.
Yep, in the case of an emergency, and it may not be for, war planes or whatever. There has been tornadoes though in the area.
Mine went off when I was driving by Pengilia last year.
Really?
It said there was a tornado on the ground. I'd never heard my phone make that noise before.
Wow.
It went off and I was like, I don't even know what it's doing, and I slowed down and got off to the side. Yeah, and it said there was a tornado on the ground or something.
Really?
Yeah. It was really, really weird.
Mine made a noise today too, and I looked at it, and it had the number of how many tornadoes in how many states have recently. It's been a lot. Not saying we get them regularly, but
Yeah.
I think that's our community's best warning system.
Well,
I mean, cell phone's great,
well,
but
the little kids. I mean, they
Yeah.
don't have cell phones. They're just out in the yard. I mean, at least
Right.
it'll make them pay attention, run to the house, something.
yep, yeah. It may be a little old school, but I like the idea of that being in operation.
That's legit.
We don't have, a lot of these old people don't have.
So, just a thought on that. I didn't want to lose it. It ran through my head, so I figured I'd.
Thank you, have it noted.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other business?
No.
All right. Councilors' comments. The floor is yours, council.
I got nothing this week, Mayor.
Nothing?
I just have that May 19th, we're doing May is Asian American Pacific Islander month. And so then, on May 19th at the senior center, there's gonna be making of egg rolls and, wontons. And the sign up is through, buhlteencenter@gmail.com. So there's flyers and it's also on the website. But you do have to sign up and I don't know, there's only so many spots and I don't know, I know that we have a handful of people that have signed up already, so.
Counselor Loeffler, lumpia's off the table?
Lumpia, yeah.
Oh,
It is,
no.
it is lumpia.
Yeah.
Yes, you're correct. Everyone knows them as egg rolls, but yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I love egg rolls. And wontons.
That's the correct way of saying it.
Yeah.
That's the correct term?
Lumpia, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forgive me for being uneducated.
Yeah. It's just about street vendor season. My favorite time.
Excellent. That's May 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
What time?
2 to 4.
Thank you.
And that's all you can eat?
No, no, they're gonna make some to bring home, like you can make
Oh,
them at home,
okay.
and then there is gonna be samples there.
Okay. Oh, excellent. So actually getting to make them?
Yes.
Ooh. That sounds delicious. Thank you. Mr. Towner?
We had the spring cleanup this last Sunday. It went really well. It went quick because we have a lot of people that came to help. Thank you guys, by the way.
Yeah.
In my impression of the problem areas, it looked like most of the garbage that we found was quite old. So stuff we'd missed in previous years that was buried under the grass. Not a lot of new garbage. So, I mean, it kind of makes me hopeful that it's getting a little better. So
Yeah.
as long as we can keep up with it, shouldn't be a problem. And thank you to the city staff for picking up our files we left behind. That made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
And we have a rec board meeting next Tuesday, normally Mondays, but this time we're gonna move it to Tuesday, 6 PM at City Hall. We've got a lot on the agenda, 4th of July being one of them, and it's a big item. So if anybody wants to come give any ideas, thoughts, they're more than welcome.
Absolutely.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah, cleanup seemed like, last year we cleaned, I don't know,
You guys at the campground.
the hill on the edge of the campground where people have been throwing stuff down them hills for the last 20, 30 years and we were dragging all that out. But this year it did seem like after the initial, hey, we all went and cleaned it up, this year I don't even think I filled up half a bag myself. It was really,
That's good.
it is good. And it's really nice to see our public areas that clean, walking around them. It's awesome.
Well, and while we were out there waiting to start, we could see a couple people that live near there cleaning up around their yard and along the skating rink area.
Oh,
there,
nice.
So the community's already on it
Yeah.
to begin with, so that
Yep.
helps.
Anybody get wood ticks?
Oh, every day I get them.
It's hard to tell if it was
Probably
from
got some
that
on me
or...
still. Yeah, wood ticks are out. That's for sure. And they say they all carry disease now, so keep an eye out for them.
All of them?
That I heard that the other day. I can't. It was just a man to another man told me that. So I don't know if there's any truth to it, but they're nasty little bugs, and you don't. If nothing else, they make you itch when you get bit. All right. Anything further? No. Mayor's comments. Fishing opener is upon us.
Stay off the ice.
Stay off the ice. If you can and you're able, bring a kid fishing. That's something that they will, as long as they enjoy it, they will have that the rest of their lives. It's a great pastime. It's a great thing to teach the kids. So get out there and teach them.
And the mosquitoes haven't quite popped out yet, so.
The mosquitoes aren't bad yet.
Get
so-
that little window.
Yeah.
Which is a good point about the cleanup. We didn't have to worry about that this
No, we did
year.
not.
That was nice.
So get out and enjoy the outdoors. All right. with nothing further, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Alright, anything further, council? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned, 7:50.